Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to GEEKING POETIC PODCAST. One of your hosts, Larry Roberts. This vivacious and very much alive Vulcan over here to my right, unlike certain other Vulcans out there, is none other than
Megan Guess.
And what are we here to talk about?
We are here for Season 3, Episode 8 of Picard.
Yep. Oh, man, this show. This show. If you haven't been listening or following our videos or anything, or following our chats about it online, man, this show is, they're really dragging it out. They're really dragging it out. Not that it hasn't been a fun ride.
It has, yes, but at least we got some kind of resolved things this time.
Yeah, kind of.
We're starting to get the wind down.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, we still have a ton to find out, but
yeah,
we'll see. Hopefully next week.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. So, gosh, well, where do we start? I guess we should start with
spoilers.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it and you don't want to be spoiled with anything, check out now. Come back and check us out later.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about everything. Nothing's off the table. There's so much to talk about with this episode.
And in this one, especially if you're not caught up and you don't like spoilers, there's a lot that happens in this episode. So there's a lot to talk about, and it'll definitely spoil it for you if you haven't already watched it. Odds are, I'm guessing most people have probably watched it if they're
you never know
listening to us. But yeah, you do never know. So yeah, we were kind of giving our overall, whatever you want to call it, just like, oh boy, vibes about it. But what I'd like to get a more concise idea from you. What did you think of episode 8, Surrender?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like where they're going so far. I love that the whole crew, TNG crew, was back together.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Loved it. I love the Riker and Deanna time. I love the Geordi and Data / lore time.
Yep. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I love everything Jack did in this episode.
Yep.
7 was awesome.
Yeah.
Her fire. Oh my God, that was so good.
7 is just ready to.
Yeah, she's like, fuck all this. I'm done with this. This is gonna end now.
Yeah.
My only real complaint is Shaw in this episode. They did not do him justice.
No, they kind of did. Some of what I liked what he had to say, other than him constantly.
When he actually said something.
Right.
He was good. But
we'll get into it. We'll get into that. When we get to it. When we get to that scene, because I've got more to say about Shaw, and it's kind of continuing on from stuff we said in the last episode and everything. Okay. But
what about you?
I really enjoyed it. Man, what polar opposite in terms of feelings that I had. The first half of this episode, I was really feeling restless. Obviously, there was a lot of tension. It was very stressful. At least the first half of this, the first 40 minutes or so of this.
Absolutely.
It was very, very stressful. So, I mean, but that's fine. I expect that. But there were certain aspects of it that I was just like, oh, come on. Like, it just was making me roll my eyes and everything. And then they went, like in Dumb and Dumber, you go and totally redeem yourself. Because the last 20 minutes of this episode were fantastic. Not just because I liked the results, but just the way they put it together, the dialogue, the way they chose to edit it. Oh, man, it just all of a sudden, everything.
It all came together.
It came together, and it was amazing. So, yeah, there was a lot going on, and still left with a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
So, yeah. So, anyway, we'll get right into the.
All right, we're going in, delving deep.
We're gonna go right into it. So. The episode opens with Vadic. Oh,
Vadic.
God, Vadic. Boy. So if anybody of you were out there feeling like I was at the start of this, just being like, okay, I'm really over Vadic. I feel like we've had enough of Vadic. I don't feel like Vadic was whatever that interesting of a villain.
Yeah, I haven't been digging her from the start. I mean, she's cool. She's got her moments, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's some moments,
She's
but
definitely eccentric.
And I don't know if it's the writing or if it's Amanda Plummer's acting choices, because it is Amanda Plummer after all. She has her quirky ways about her and stuff. But by this episode, I was just sort of really over it. You know what I mean? Like, just her act, the whole thing in the beginning where she's smoking, she's just, everything she does is just so overacted. It's like, watch, her smoking and then her playing along like a symphony in her head with all the screams of the crew members that are being chased and killed. And it's
disturbing.
It was disturbing.
I know you thought it comical or...
I didn't find it comical. I found it eye-rolling. I was just like, oh, come on. Like, we got it. She's insane and she's sadistic. Like, you've established this. Like, why are we... to be fair, I don't even think it really is just so much of a problem of the character or of Amanda Plummer. I think it's a problem that they've stretched this out
for
too
so
long.
Yeah.
They've stretched it out. The things that happened in this episode realistically should have happened in an episode or two ago. We should have, because they're doing what we've been fucking worried about the whole time is they're going to wait till the very end to finally let us know what the hell's going on and what this has all been about. And I'm all for some mystery and suspense now and then, like that's
but not 3 episodes worth of it.
Yeah, I
would have rather, like the whole Raffi and Worf thing when they went to go off and find. I wanted to see more of that.
Yeah.
I want to go see them be badasses. I've been saying that for how many episodes now? Why couldn't we have taken an episode and done that instead of, knowing this is all going to be still going on?
Yeah.
But did I have to watch it?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with you. I think there are people out there that don't agree, that feel like, oh, I don't care about the Worf and Raffi stuff. But we do not agree with that, obviously. But here's my point about that. If that's the case of like, well, I don't care about the Worf and Raffi stuff, get back to the Titan. All right, cool. But then fucking do something. Like, I just didn't need more than half of this episode to still be Vadic being, as Jack calls her later, talking in batshit circles. It's like, oh, come on, enough already. Like, at first it was like, oh, cool, quirky, different, crazy, blah, blah, blah. And now, 8 episodes in, I'm like, enough. Okay, enough.
Yeah.
At least we get some redemption with this later in the episode.
We do eventually.
And everything. But, so anyway, the point is she's still there on the ship. She's still waiting for Jack to show himself and everything. She's making all these threats and everything. And meanwhile, Beverly is imploring Jack because Jack is we know that Jack does not feel like all of this stuff is worth it. Like he's like, hey, screw
Let me turn it myself in. And he's been saying that for several episodes now.
Right.
Like, just let me turn myself in. This will all be over for everybody. Everybody else gets to live, go on with their lives, and it's over.
Right. Exactly. And of course Beverly and Picard are both like, no, you can't do that. If you go and do that, who knows what they're going to do to you, and they're just going to kill us all anyway.
Right.
So,
it makes sense. That makes total, because that's exactly what she would have done.
That is exactly what.
Because she's batshit crazy.
But anyway, so meanwhile, like he's trying to get that going on. Picard and Riker are trying to figure out how in the hell they can get control back and everything.
You mean Who'd you say? Picard and Riker? You mean
Or Picard
Crusher?
and Beverly, I meant.
I was like, wait a minute, Riker's already back?
I thought I said Beverly. Sorry.
Like, did I miss something?
There's a lot of characters in this episode. So Picard and Beverly are trying to get back, control and everything. And meanwhile, Jack is trying to find out like what's going on because he's hiding out. They're all hiding out together and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to find out like what's going on in the rest of the ship and everything. So he starts doing his red eye mind stuff again.
Yeah, and Sydney's like, "What's he doing?"
Yeah, Sydney's looking at him like, "What the hell is he doing?" And which he hears and everything. And Jack is able to basically puppet one of the Trek officers, one of the Titan officer guys, and he gets all red-eyed, kind of like Sydney did in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And he's able to see through this guy's eye, like see the carnage that's happened in the hallways and see that they're just assassinating all these poor Titan crew and everything. Which I'll get into that, my thoughts about that whole thing in a minute and stuff. So anyway, he when he ends up, he does that, and then he sees because he's in the guy's head, he's able to see that the guy was killed, and he tells them like, "Oh, look, it's no good. Like we're not going to be
trapped.
We're trapped here. There's nothing we can do." And Picard and Beverly are kind of like, "What? Okay, how does he know this? Like what exactly is going on here?" Because Jack still has not fully revealed to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one who really knows or has had any experience with it so far is Sydney.
Right.
And everything. But anyway, so meanwhile, Vadic is still holding the crew hostage on the bridge of the ship, and she starts announcing over the intercom to Jack that, "Look, I'm giving you 10 minutes. Isn't that what I think it was? 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I'm giving you 10 minutes to give yourself up, or I'm going to start executing people," which we know she is definitely crazy enough to do that.
Yes.
So
no qualms about that.
So that's just making Jack even that much more like, and everything. Meanwhile, on the bridge, while Vadic is doing that, Shaw's getting really uptight about this, because what's the one thing he's been saying all along is just like, I don't want anything to happen to my crew,
Right.
And all of this stuff going on, like everything that keeps happening, it's like his ship, his crew, and everything are getting fucked up. None of the TNG or Voyager characters are. Just his people.
Guys, yeah.
All his people are getting slaughtered left and right. And he's a little pissed off at Seven because he's like, "Look, you
had a chance.
Yeah, you should.
Blew it.
Right, yeah. You had a chance and you blew it." But he says, "Yeah, you should have blown the
turbo lift.
The turbo lift, thank you. Couldn't think of them like the transport tube. The turbo lift. Should have blown the turbo lift and everything when he was out there, and Seven's saying, "Nope, I won't do that. I don't believe in
trading lives."
Right, trading lives and all this stuff. But then Shaw's like, "Look,
what do you think we're doing now?"
Right, well, and he's also like, "Look, here's the thing. I know he keeps like, well, he dead names her again, calls her Hanson, and she's like, my name is 7 of 9.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. Mm-hmm. It was great because he doesn't even like argue. He's just like,
okay,
fine. But here's the thing: in as much as that he disrespects her with that kind of shit and everything, you can tell and you can feel that like he does have some kind of like respect for her. I think he does. I think he respects her in a lot of ways. As I think he does respect her as an officer, and I think he does respect her strength and all that kind of stuff. He may be leery of her because she was Borg and all that kind of stuff, but I do think, and I think when he was, making the comment to her about like, look, when you're in your position or my position, you don't get the luxury of making comfortable decisions.
Right.
You don't have that luxury. Sometimes you have to do the shit like that, like choosing to, blow the turbo lift with me or whoever in it. And, sometimes you have to do that. You need to understand this lesson, and he wasn't wrong.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, and that's
how many lives would have been saved if she had done that?
Right.
It would have been over.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing about Shaw is that is in as much as he's an asshole, he's such a jerk, you know what I mean? But he's often, with his lessons and his points about things, he's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets interesting, you know? It's an interesting dynamic. We see it a lot in real world stuff where it's like you run into people that are like complete assholes, but then sometimes the lessons they have to give you or the points they have to make, you're like, well, okay, yeah, if I can get past what an asshole they are, they're not totally wrong with that. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting, but I think this is a good opportunity also for us to discuss the Shaw issue that we've had, not just with this episode, but with
all along
the past several episodes. Yeah. So, I mean, why don't you take it?
So my issue with Shaw is, I mean, he's got these good nuggets and all this stuff, but he's the freaking captain of this ship. He's in charge of it, and he keeps turning over. He's like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. Here, you take it. Seven, you take it. Picard or Riker or anybody else, you take it. You deal with this mess. I'm not dealing with that. And I don't know. It just seems so cowardly to me. He stood there the whole time when Vadic was doing all that BS with that crew, and said nothing. Didn't stand up for them. Didn't say, fuck you, bitch. You're taking me.
Right.
Over, like you said, over my dead body.
That part I
didn't try to negotiate. Did nothing.
Totally
nothing
agree.
Other than give Seven shit.
Yeah. That part I totally agree with you about. I think in other instances when he's done some of the things you said, I think that his attitude was like, you're, not my mess, not my problem. Like, you're the ones that started this mess. You're going to, you fucking do it then. You're the ones that came in here all cavalier, taking over my ship, taking me here, doing this, doing that, putting us in this situation. Then you know what? You fucking do it, because
that's not a good idea either. They're the one that fucked it up and got in that situation. You fix it. It's your ship. You were given command of that.
Well, I do agree. And that's part of where his PTSD, with Borg and his prejudices against the Picard and his gang, work against him.
Yeah. Again, all the more reason.
It works against him because he should have, once it was understandable in the beginning, but once they knew what was going on and knew that all of Starfleet was compromised, knew that they were running for their lives, all this stuff. At that point, I feel like Shaw should have been like, all right, fuck it. I don't care how much I dislike you people. Like, I'm going to work with you. Like, let's come up with plans. Let's do this. Let's fight. And too much, it just seems like he's just sort of sitting back like he's any other crew member and just being like, I got nothing.
Waiting for my orders.
Yeah, I got nothing to say. I feel completely defeated on this. And that's not cool, because I feel like that there's so many other like little things they've shown us that indicates that's not him. But then
and then they keep doing this. I'm very conflicted with Shaw.
Yeah, I am.
He could be so amazing.
Yeah,
dickheaded, but
yeah, he's amazing and amazingly dickheaded. Right,
all at the same time. And I want to love him so much, but stop doing this to him, please.
Yeah, I really hope that his character does have some moment or moments to shine and really do something. Because it is kind of weird. It feels like they just kind of keep him around to be somebody like to hate, you know what I mean? Like somebody to be like, oh, see what a dick, because he keeps calling calling her names and what good are you? And I'm like, see, I don't agree with that. Maybe we're projecting too much in there, but just from the things I have seen of this character on the show, I feel like, there's a lot of potential there for this character.
Yeah. So that's my biggest gripe in this whole episode.
Yeah.
But I'm done venting. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think it was totally valid. And we'll bring up a little bit more later, too, when we get to it. So the next thing is Jack then decides that, because he's like, all right, I can't take this anymore with everything that's going on. He's getting more and more desperate to like do something. I got to do something so that people don't keep risking their lives for me. And plus he's feeling even more fucked up about all his weird abilities that he doesn't understand and everything. So finally he goes and he like tearily even like is telling his parents, Beverly and Jean-Luc, he's telling them like, look, I have these things I can do, you know, what?
And then Beverly like immediately starts scanning him. She's like, he's not hallucinating. He's not crazy.
Well, she's
like,
trying
"Geez."
to like, well, okay, should I use this as an opportunity to get into my Beverly
the Beverly
stuff again?
bandwagon thing. All right, let's do it.
Because as soon as she started doing that, like he's trying to like be honest about his things going on, his visions and all this kind of stuff. And once again, just like we've seen in some of the other episodes, Beverly starts trying to sort of be dismissive of it, where she's like, oh, well, you know, it could be hallucinations and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And you know, all this. And I'm like, I just have that feeling that it's more like
It's not going away.
I have that feeling that it's more like she knows, well aware that she's got these visions and that he's got stuff going on and that it all stuff. And she's the one trying to like, oh, don't mind that. Don't mind that. Like, don't pay too much attention to that.
Yeah.
Because that's what
Don't
she's
look
been
behind the curtain.
That's what she's been telling him all along, is just like, just deal with it. Oh, you used to be like this when you were a child, and like trying to make it seem like it's not that big of a deal. You know, you just have, oh, it's Irumodic syndrome. Like she's looking for every other Irumodic syndrome, whatever. She's looking for every other thing other than being like, oh, we need to find out what this is. Like, okay, there's, yeah, like, you know what I mean? And I don't know. And you could see that even he's like getting like frustrated. Like, no, this isn't a fucking
He's like,
hallucination.
I can do it. And finally, Sydney's like, he can. Trust me. He did it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved when she jumped
and he
in.
saved my life. So
yeah.
thank you, Sydney.
Right. Yeah. Sydney was like, look, I can vouch for this. And then at that point, it's like Beverly can't.
She can't say nothing.
Right. She can't like.
She can shut her traps. What she can
deny
do.
it anymore. So anyway, so Jack ends up explaining that he thinks he might have a plan to take back control of the Titan because he might be able to take over Puppet, one of the officers that's currently being held on the bridge and everything. And Picard's like, well, okay, if we give you the right an override code, maybe they can covertly, you know, if you're controlling them, they can covertly put in this code and then we can get control back and everything. So at that point, Vadic's still on the ship. She's still being threatening and everything. And he tries to take over, what's his name? Mura?
I don't remember his name.
Yeah, Lieutenant Mura, I think it is. He takes over and we see Mura gets all spooky eyed and everything and goes and starts trying to like type on the screen and everything. And unfortunately, immediately Vadic notices.
Because Seven gave it away.
Oh, did she?
She was like looking at him.
I didn't quite catch that it was Seven looking at him that gave it away.
She was like, what is happening over there?
Way to go,
like,
Seven.
God damn it, Seven.
Yeah, you
Play cool. Come on.
Yeah, you keep blowing it. So anyway, so at this point, this has now prompted Vadic to go, all right, well, you know what?
I'm impatient. We're done.
You're doing that because and here's the thing, because once again, the other thing that it indicates is Vadic knew immediately that was Jack and that Jack was doing that.
Jack, hi, you come into your abilities full of force, huh?
So she knows everything about Jack. She knows what he can do and knows that he's capable of that kind of stuff. So anyway, so she starts going, okay, well, you know what? We're going to start executing now. And we're going to pick who it is that we're going to off. So she picks Mura, and then she picks, oh gosh, what is it? Esmar and one of the ensigns.
I didn't catch all their names.
Who's been like crying and she was all upset.
So terrified, poor thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, that's terrible. Yeah. Just making me even more and more fed up with Vadic. Anyway, so she takes Mira and they force them both down on their knees and everything. And then she's announcing their names over the intercom so that Jack can hear all this. She gets Mira to start talking about his son and family stuff.
Get him to come up there. He's like, not going to happen because I'm Starfleet, bitch.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep, exactly.
Good for him.
Yeah. So unfortunately, with a snap decision thing, she turns around and executes Tavine,
The Vulcan.
the Vulcan, which sucks because I
Yeah,
know
wanted to see her.
a lot of people were like, all of us that were fantasizing about the fact that maybe we'll get a new Trek series after this.
Yeah, and the Vulcan will be in there.
And the Vulcan will be in there, and we'll get Shaw and Sydney and all that stuff. Well, that's obviously we're not going to get Tavine because Tavine was vaporized, and that sucked.
Yeah, that sucked bad. And then she made Seven announce it to everybody, so they knew.
Yeah, which was a little. It reminded me of. It was a slight little throwback to Savick being forced to announce to Kirk when she's like, Captain, David is dead, and like having to, like making the Klingons making her tell the captain, who they executed and all that kind of stuff. It was very similar to that. It reminded me. Obviously, it wasn't as impactful to Picard that Tavine died as David to Kirk, but still, similar idea. But anyway, so now this proves that like she's not bluffing. She's gonna do this, and she keeps taunting Jack that she's gonna keep doing this. So time is really, really running out. Finally, we get a break, a little bit of a break from Vadic world, and we get into Riker and Troi. So, okay, now, this was pretty cool. I really liked the way this was written, the way they acted this. It's like they're kind of... It's like at the same time they're totally happy to see each other. They're even kind of laughing a little bit.
They're still working through their shit.
But they're still kind of fighting. Yeah, they're still fighting and everything. I thought it was pretty funny when she's giving him shit for being old and still able to barely take a punch and all that kind of stuff. And she's even teasing him about how she should have taught him another word besides Imzadi and what was the other? I forgot what the other word was that she says, I should have taught you this one. He's like, what does that mean? She said something about like round baby or something like that. Big round baby or something like that. They laugh about it. And she says, well, and I want to get into this because this is another interesting thing. And I wanted to go back and listen to this again, and I didn't to get the right wording, but maybe you can help me with this. She says, when the changeling showed up at the cabin and the one was pretending to be him, and she said, I was able to figure out that it wasn't. At first, she's joking about that he was like good in bed, bad at pizza.
Bad at pizza, yeah.
and everything. But she says, I was able to suss out that it was changelings. But she said something about...
She can't read them.
She cannot read them, right.
Yeah.
That's important.
Very important.
I think that's extremely important to one of my ongoing fucking theories that I've had on here and everything, is that she's not able to just read them like that. I think that she probably is able to read them in some ways.
I think she can sense. I don't think she can like read their minds like she can others.
Right. And I think touch is important with her. We know that from the past.
Definitely. And
that could be important with something coming up. But she brings that up, and it's said, again, with like a lot of other things, it's said in almost a throwaway line when she brings up about she couldn't read them, blah, 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 blah. And I immediately was like, wait a minute, I think that's a clue. I think the fact that she's not able to read them is going to play into things that happen and everything. But so they're working. They end up trying to work through their stuff and everything, and talking about. She feels that he gave up on life. He feels that she was unfair and that she tried to numb him from working through all his pain. Yeah. With the loss of their son. And everything. What? You've got a smirk on your face.
No, it's just.
What?
She's a counselor. And I guess she says it. She's like, I forgot that. I mean, that's her husband though. And she, like she said, she feels everything. He just had to feel himself, and she just tried to help. So I guess it was really selfish. So she didn't have to feel it. Really.
Right.
It was selfish and not selfish at the same time.
It was complicated.
Right, very complicated.
I think is what
nothing's
it comes down to.
cut and dry.
Yeah.
There's no black and white. There's this huge gray area. She was trying to help both of them out, I guess, really.
Sometimes.
And it just hurt him more.
Exactly.
In the long run. He just felt numb to everything in the world, including her, especially once he found out, I guess.
But I think the fact that her intent was not to harm or hinder him matters. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He just needed time to work through it.
Right. So.
And almost dying. Yeah. And that nebula thing.
Right. Really,
Really helped him come to terms with that.
Yeah.
How much he missed her and loved her, and now he's just happy to die loving her again.
I thought it was really funny that they came to the realization that they both hate their house.
Yeah. Like, I miss the city. He's like, I thought you loved it. She's like, I thought you loved it.
Right. I thought that was great. Like, I thought that was
pretty typical.
That was that was pretty typical, actually. So they're able to work through their issues and stuff, but unfortunately, the fact of the matter is they're still in a life or death situation there because they're probably about to be executed at any moment and everything. And just at the point when they think that, like,
I got somebody coming in, changeling coming in to finish them off.
Right. It is not what ends up happening, because what does actually end up happening is Worf shows up. Thank goodness. I was so fucking happy and relieved to see Worf. I was like, finally.
Yeah. There he is.
Exactly. Because it's another character that I feel like the times he's been in the show so far have been great.
Yeah.
There's no parts that I'm like, oh, that was a letdown for Worf. No, it's all been amazing. He's been super amazing. But I feel like I want more.
I so want more of Worf.
More Worf and Raffi.
And Raffi.
The two of them together. Because Raffi could be, we, as we've said before, for people that might be listening and don't know, we did reviews of season 1 and season 2 of Picard, and we liked Raffi. We really liked her, but there was a lot of times that Raffi could be very frustrating.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of that, some of that was just writing, but a lot of that had to do with her being
impatient
and adrift.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't have, I mean, I know, like, in season 2, they paired her up with Seven. There was a romantic tryst there and everything. Okay, that's great. And that added interest and everything.
Yeah, but I think Worf can help her grow. And I wanted to see that.
Yes.
The way he did it, I wanted to see him do that with her.
Exactly.
More one-on-one. And I didn't get it.
You got some of it. And we're still getting
snippets of it.
Little snippets, but I'd love to see
I don't think we're
more.
going to get it, but.
No, I don't think we're going to get it.
We missed our window.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get as much as we would like. But yeah, I feel like them pairing up Raffi with Worf, it's like
perfect.
Beautiful. That makes so much sense, especially with where Worf is at now, because he used to be angry and violent and impulsive and, impatient and all these kind of things, just like Raffi is. But now he's like a Zen master, Yep. So just brilliant. Right?
Yeah, the whole thing. And speaking of Zen master, when he sees Deanna and he starts talking about
so when he saves them, when he saves them and he comes in and like he doesn't even say anything to Will. He's just like, Deanna.
Oh, Deanna, I thought about you every day.
I have thought about you and so much every day since I last saw you, and you made such an impression on me. And
she's like, oh, great. And Riker's like, dude, not cool.
Literally, that's what he's like. He's like, really? Like I'm here, dude. Like, really? Like, because there was, for those that don't know or don't remember, there was that whole side storyline weird thing with Worf and Deanna having that relationship.
Yeah, don't remind me. I did not fill that ship.
Yeah, well, anyway, so
that was hilarious. I enjoyed that.
That was kind of like a fun callback to it and everything. But so getting past that, then the trio ends up hooking up with, finally we get to see Raffi, because I've been like, where the fuck is Raffi all this time? And she is with Picard's old dead body.
Yeah, she's on the Shrike.
Right,
doing stuff.
Yeah, that the changelings had taken the body, and she reveals that what they didn't need the whole body. They weren't trying to make a doppelganger or whatever, or reanimate that body. They just wanted the part of it, and it was the part of his brain that was infected with Irumodic syndrome.
Right.
So now this changes things, because the theory that they had on the show and that a lot of other people had about why they wanted Jack and why they wanted Picard's body, it's kind of out the window. And there's
Right.
all new theories about what they could be possibly doing, and I don't know yet. I'm
Yeah, I'm still clueless.
Right. So anyway, so back on the Titan though, Sydney says, look, the only way we'd be able to crack the systems to get control of the ship again, it would take me like hundreds of hours. It'd take
Take me days and take my dad a month. And
yeah, something like that. Take me a year, take my dad a month, and you'd have to be able to move like super fast and blah, 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 blah. Well,
Picard goes, got an idea.
Yeah. So what is it? Well, we all know what it is, and we've known, I mean, they've hinted at it enough. We need Data.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is obviously Data is trapped inside a body along with Lore, and Geordi has just been doing everything he can to try and keep them
apart.
Yeah. And
can't take down that partition wall.
In the brain.
Because Lore's already being so possessive over everything. He's like taking over even with the wall.
Right. Yeah, so he's got him unplugged. He won't plug him back in, but they're like, okay, we got to do this. So in another scene that I thought was pretty cool, of a nice bit of levity there, was that Picard and Beverly and Sydney and Jack all of a sudden come into engineering where Geordi is...
His daughters are, yeah.
Geordi is... Geordi and Alondra... What's her name?
Alondra, I think.
Alondra, yeah.
Something like that.
Are keeping watch over Lore Data.
They all
pull their guns on each other and everything. And because they don't know if they can trust people, man, so Geordi was like, when you gave me a gift back at blah, blah,
at
blah.
my wedding or something.
And
what did you give me?
and Picard says, I gave you a bottle of whatever wine, and you said you didn't care for it, which showed your taste in wine was pedestrian, truly pedestrian and everything. And Geordi's like,
yep, that's Picard.
Yeah, that's him. So anyway, Picard suggests to them that what they need to do is they need to just lower the partition and let Data fight.
Work it out. Yep.
Yeah, let Data fight.
Like nature take its course.
Right. Geordi is like,
Nope. Ain't doing it. We're gonna lose Data. Can't do it.
Yeah, which, and that too, it's like, I'm like, God, this is just scaredy cat Geordi, like ever since we reintroduced him into it. I mean, people are going to think I'm being unfair. It makes sense, I get it, but he definitely is acting this with an air of just like, I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of going on this ship. I'm afraid of helping them. I'm afraid of doing this. Like, I'm afraid. It's like, they've made him almost like overly careful, like overly cautious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I didn't feel it as much with this time around because he'd just been reunited with Data. He wasn't there the last time.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
He just wasn't mentally ready to take that on, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose.
Until they found a better option. Well, but they're out of options. And I think Beverly or somebody said that. It's like, we don't have any more options. I think it was his daughter, Sydney, actually. He's like,
it was.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah,
we
was
gotta
Sydney
do it.
that was like, Dad, we got to do this. So it's like, what have you got to lose at this point? What's Lore going to do that isn't?
Yeah.
I mean, they're already...
He's about to be obliterated anyway. So
right,
let's
exactly. So they decide to lower the partition in Data's head, and Lore immediately starts, like taunting him and is clearly showing to be like the big bully that he is, like the bully older brother kind of thing, and is taunting him and saying, oh, your real life is about conquest and power, and all you've got are a bunch of
you got everything. You just got a bunch of trinkets.
I thought it was really cool that they did the throwback to the Sherlock Holmes thing where they had the hat with the hat and Geordi and Data talking in that episode. They used the dialogue of him explaining that Holmes did not collect trinkets for he wasn't a collector like that.
Everything meant something.
It had to have some kind of meaning, which was a hint at what was to come and everything. And they're going back and forth about this, and Data is basically like just kind of doing like this very innocent, like almost like a show and tell of like, look at this memory I have,
Yeah,
you know,
this is this, and this was this,
and everything is and bringing up to Lore the fact that like a lot of Lore's anger and pain comes from the fact that he feels like he was just completely abandoned, while Data was the one that got all the love, all the attention, all the experiences, and all that kind of stuff. And so Data, all of a sudden, like at first Data seems like he's kind of like, oh my God, like what are you doing? But then Data sort of has this moment where he turns it around. He's like, well, you know what? I'm going to give you
you
my
are
memories.
stronger. Yeah.
Yeah, you're stronger,
you
so
win.
here.
So here you go.
And he starts handing off things to him. One of the coolest things being that he pulls out this little like holographic thing, and it's an image of Tasha Yar. So awesome.
My favorite was Spot.
Oh, well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that. Then the deck of cards, because talk about them, how they would play cards and all that stuff, and then he gets to Spot. Well, and we know that that's significant. That's particularly significant because it was Data's first time when he had the emotions chip or whatever put in him back in, was that in Generations?
I don't remember.
I think it was in Generations. When he has that put into him, and he thinks that Spot is gone.
Yeah, that he was destroyed.
And he was destroyed, and then he discovers him, and he starts crying. And it's his first experience with love and emotion. Like it was the first thing that made him experience love. So, and then he says to Lore, like, this is like the most important thing to me, you know, was Spot because of that. And he hands Spot over to Lore, and we think, you know, they're indicating at home where they're watching on the screen, and it looks like Lore has completely taken over.
The last little blue dot turns red. It's like, that's it. Data's gone.
Yeah, and they're just like, oh no, you know, which is funny because we all know at home that's not what's going to happen. Come on now. But anyway, so as he hands over Spot, Data ends up vanishing, and then, but it turns out that all of a sudden, like, things get a little wonky, and Lore starts to be like, wait a minute, what's going on? And Data comes back. And what happens is, what it turns out is that Data, because it's Data, man, he's not,
he played Lore.
Yeah, he played him, you know.
What did he say? That he knew that it would be a triumph to him, a trophy, all the things.
Yeah, he knew that, unlike, Lore was trying to make it sound like, oh, that's all garbage, I don't care about it. But in truth, Lore coveted all that. He coveted all those memories and experiences and stuff. He was jealous of them. So by,
like, now I got them. Ha ha ha.
But so by Data,
now they meant something.
Well, and by Data giving all of those to Lore rather than Lore, had Lore just literally deleted them, this would not have worked. But because Lore took them, he kind of took them into himself and
became Data.
They became
one.
Yeah, exactly.
They're now integrated.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Perfect word for it. They're now an integrated one. There are no multiple. There's no before. There's no Lore. There's no Data. It's all one being and everything. And he said, I figured out what your weakness was, and I knew you'd fall for this. And it's what needed to happen. It's obviously, that's ultimately what Sung wanted to happen.
Yes.
All along, was for that to come around and everything. So it was, so just like Sung planned. So they became one. That whole scene, easily one of the best sequences of Picard, of the whole season, of the whole series. I thought the way they played that out, again, we talked about it last week, the way Brent Spiner acted that, he's acting with himself, and you almost forget that. You almost forget that because they are such distinct characters. Lore is lore, and Data is Data, and they are so different, even though they look exactly the same, sound the same, but they're such different characters. And Brent Spiner acts that so superbly that you forget that he's acting with himself.
It's just him.
He wasn't bouncing off another actor. He had to act out the one and then act out the other. That's not easy, man. Like, I've not done a lot of acting, but the little bit of acting things I've tried to do, it ain't easy. Like, there's a lot of skill there. So again, Brent Spiner, like the MVP, here, I just think he was absolutely amazing. And it was touching, to see them say goodbye, brother, to each other and stuff.
Yeah, that was nice.
So where are we next? So meanwhile, while that has been going on, Jack has been
he wants to be a distraction.
He had been buying time for them by going and surrendering. I'm throwing up if you don't see me and you're listening, air quotes, surrendering to Vadic and everything, and saying like, all right, fine, here we go.
Here I am. And I even brought you a present.
Right. And then what did he bring a present for her? It's a thermal detonator. It's it's actually not a thermal detonator, but we'll get to that.
We don't know that yet. But it's a bomb. He's going to blow everybody up.
But come on, it looked exactly like the fucking thermal detonator from Return of the Jedi when Leia as Boosh shows up in Jabba's castle and everything and pulls that out, throws that out and 50,000, no less, and all that stuff. And so I had to laugh at that because I was just like, oh, Jesus, we're really doing the Star Wars thermal detonator thing here?
Why not?
Well, and in a similar thing, it was a ruse. It turns out that it's a ruse because Jack is telling it like, it makes sense. It was a smart ruse, actually, because Jack's whole thing is like, look, you want me and you're going to kill us all anyway. So,
take me out of it.
And then I'm going to just take me out of it and I'll take as many of you.
Like, you think that's really going to kill me? He's like, I don't have to kill you. I just got to kill me.
Right, exactly. And it just ruins your whole plan because all this stuff. So Vadic falls for it. Vadic actually falls for it and is like, okay, well, then the crew here, I am done with.
We don't need them. Put them away.
Go lock. Yeah, she says, okay, go put them away and everything, and I'm gonna deal with Jackie here and stuff and try to talk some sense into him or whatever. And so she
baby boy. Is that what she called him? Baby boy.
Again, I feel like there's every little thing.
Yeah, there's something to that.
Well, even when she said, I didn't think you were going to come, and he was like, oh, my mother taught me better than that. And she doesn't say anything. She has this like silent reaction, like, You know what I mean? When he says that, because again, mother and everything with him, I there's more to it. There's more to it. Even if my theory about Beverly isn't totally right, I'm telling you, there's more to all that. There's got to be.
He doesn't belong to you either, so.
Yeah. So right, and that comment. Right, you're talking about that comment from a couple episodes ago when they said something about him not belonging to you, and she's like, "Well, he never belong
really
to you
either, does he?"
Right. Exactly. So
like, I'm gonna kill you.
So I don't think that Jack is actually Beverly's son. But anyway, so she ends up. Hang on, let me get this. Yeah, there we go. So she ends up sending the rest of the crew and all of them, says, okay, all of you go into the other room and everything. I'm going to talk to Jack. And they go walking in there. And at the last minute, Seven, because she looked at, like, Jack kind of gave her a look.
It gave to her and Shaw.
Yeah.
He looked at them and was like, go ahead, it's okay.
And I think Seven also might have sussed out that what he was holding was not a bomb. You know what I mean? I think that she might have there's a chance she might have looked at it and been like, wait a minute, that's not what they're thinking it is. He's got a plan. He's got some other plan. I'm going to, stick out here. So at the last minute, she turns around and walks back out, and Shaw's like, what the fuck? What are you doing?
What are you doing? You can't do this.
And she's like, I'm doing what you
dealing with the consequences or whatever it was.
Yeah, taking the consequences and everything. You just went off on me about this, so I'm doing that. And
You're
then,
like, okay.
right, so he's, what can he do at that point? And then this leads to another interesting thing.
Very
that
interesting.
you were talking about and everything was that when she comes back out and she stands there and Jack says, "Oh, you shouldn't have stayed, you should have gone or whatever."
And she's like, "You shouldn't have come." And
Yeah.
then Vadic was like, "It's okay.
She says something
it's
about
appropriate that you're here, that you stay, or
yeah,
something
it's
like
appropriate that you be around for this."
to hear this, to see this. Yeah.
Right.
It's like, what?
And it's like, well, why? Why is it appropriate for 7 of all people to be around for whatever was about to?
This is just the first of many things that's said in this scene.
Right. Yeah, that because again, you were bringing up to me that there's things you've heard because you've been Little Miss Spoiler.
I have.
This time. Usually I'm Mr. Spoiler, but this time
Call
around,
me.
but this time around she's been Little Miss Spoiler. And you said that you've heard talk, for better or worse, that this might actually, in fact,
It's going to be a Borg thing.
it's Borg related.
So
Now I was
7 of 9 being appropriate, that makes sense.
right. Why would it be? Why would that be? Now I wonder, is Jack a former Borg, like 7, like Picard, Locutus?
I don't know.
It could be. It could be that when he was a child, he was just like 7 was.
Maybe
He could have
and
been.
he's Beverly saved him or something. I don't know.
That very well could be. That very well could be.
So then why? I don't know.
I don't know.
I
We
need
don't-
the answers. So many answers. Please give me something. Because
Right.
then how's Picard's fault? Everything being Picard's fault,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that would explain why she stayed away from the rest of the crew and didn't have any contact because she had this Borg kid.
Right. So, traversing around the universe with their Borg kid. The courtship of Beverly's Borg kid. Anyway, so then this leads to, while they're standing there and everything, talking, and Vadic keeps bringing up stuff like about, aren't you curious about who you really are and all this stuff? And
I can give you the answers.
right, she's kind of, and you can see that Jack is sort of
he's
getting
like, fuck, I
drawn
need
in.
the answers. I
Like,
really want the answers.
because she
I'm
brings
dealing
up
with
like,
this.
aren't you curious about what's behind that red door? And he's like, holy shit, how does she know about the red door?
Yeah, that kind of stops him in his tracks.
Yeah.
And 7's like, what is she talking
Yeah,
about?
because 7 has no idea what any of this means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's because he hasn't told them.
Yeah. And he says something about hearing all the voices. It's like, Borg,
Well,
all the voices. Like, you've been alone for so long. You're hearing the voices that aren't your own.
well, that would make sense because that's the whole thing is like being a Borg. You're part of a collective.
Right.
And so be a Borg who is isolated from the
Just
rest
like
of
you.
the collective.
He was lost.
Right. So being an isolated Borg, that could explain. Yeah, okay. This is maybe starting to make some sense here. It's possible.
I think we're getting Borg.
We're getting all Borged up here. But like I said, going back to, I love that Jack was like, okay, you can keep going around with your batshit stuff, or you
Circles.
can just tell me. So just about at the time when that's going to happen, what ends up happening is that Data comes back online. He comes back to life, and Picard and all them are like,
Data?
Data?
Is that you?
Like they're real nervous because they're like, we don't know what we're gonna deal with, and he's like, yep, it's me. And this is great. From here on out, it gets
Awesome.
great. It gets great. So Picard.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I want to say one more
Yes,
thing.
yes.
With the whole Vadic
Yeah.
thing with Jack and that whole scene.
Yeah.
It kept throwing in little sound bites of the sounds from the original track. And I thought that was so cool that they did that.
I caught that too, and why did they do that?
I don't know.
What was the reason?
But I
for
really
that?
enjoyed all those little, little
Yeah, because I heard all those. I'm like, oh, that's an
those
old
little
sound.
chirps and
Yeah, there was like
the comms and
yeah, like, I bet that's a clue.
it might be.
Or
Might be,
it's-
but I
or it's just there to
enjoyed them.
throw
It
us
could
off.
it could just be.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that because I noticed it, but I didn't make note of it. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, oh, wow, okay, that's an old sound effect. Like that's kind of cool. That's there. But I didn't think about like, why is it there?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Could be nothing. Could be something.
Right.
Guess we'll have to wait and find out. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. So no, I'm really glad you brought that up because that could be important. So, anyway, Data comes back online basically just in time. Picard's like quick talking. He's like,
we need you.
we need you
Get
right
in
now.
there.
You gotta
Take it
take
over.
it, blah, blah, blah. And Data's just like, I'm already on it. And he immediately like, boom, he just takes over. Like he's taken over everything. And then he starts making announcements over the intercom. First of all, finally, Worf and Riker and them are able to make contact with Sydney and them. And they
They're like,
say,
oh, good, you're here. We need you. Come
like,
on.
you can dock your ship because they're on the. Oh, I should bring that up. That when they went after Riker and Troi, they were on a cloaked ship, so they had the cloaking device and used that to their advantage to be able to sneak up on the Shrike and all that. So that was awesome.
Yes, love that. So
but-
now they're back.
But yeah, so Data starts telling, he's like, this is your whatever security protocol program, blah, pissed off.
Really pissed off.
You're completely pissed off protocol program and everything. And he starts being real snarky, making comments about calling her monologuing protoplasm and all this. I literally was laughing out loud by myself watching it. I was like, that's great. And then finishing it all up when he's like, Jack, it's all you now. He on to you. So what it turns out is he ends up he basically ends up showing that what he had was not a detonator. It was
It's a force field.
a portable force field thing that he is able to put over he and Seven.
Yeah, Seven's like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
He's like, just bear with me. I got a plan.
And then Picard immediately is like, he tells the ship, like, computer, initiate whatever emergency airlock protocol thing. Now, here's another thing. I never knew they could do that. Who knew that the main view
It's the
screen?
new retrofit
Yeah, talk
for the
about.
Titan.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
damn. Could have
Right.
done that to Q how many times?
Right. Well, I don't know if it would have worked on Q, to be fair. But yeah, who knew that you could open up the front of it by basically opening up the view screen thing, and it's like an airlock thing. And so that goes on. Vadic's standing there like, what the fuck, and everything. And then Seven, what?
Yeah, she's like, get off my ship.
Yeah, she pulls your favorite. That was very Janeway of her to do that, because I'm pretty sure that was a Janeway line and everything.
Was it?
So I think that was a little callback to that, which is pretty cool actually. That was not crying Janeway. That was badass.
Badass Janeway. I still gotta get to.
Pissed off Janeway. Yeah.
Yeah.
You really need to watch. Voyager once and for all. So anyway, so they do that, and
Vadic gets off the ship.
Vadic gets off the ship because she basically just gets blown out into space. Her and her whatever is left of her,
Cronies.
her guards, whatever. They're blown into space. And yeah, if I could have stood up and applauded, I would have, because I was like, thank you. Enough of her. Enough of her. I'm so done with her.
No, we get more of her because she ices over from the vacuums of space and hits the Shrike, and she's shattered into a gazillion pieces.
And
so now we have a whole bunch of Vadics.
And how satisfying was that?
It was very satisfying.
I watched that. I actually rewound it and watched it twice. Yeah, because I was like, it was a cool effect too.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that looked really cool. But now you were saying again that there are people. You were telling me that people online were theorizing.
Yeah. So apparently, changelings are not affected really by the vacuum of space. That doesn't automatically mean they die, just like it would us humans. and that just because she's shattered, I mean, they're a goop. You know, she could come back together just like the T-1000. That's basically what happened to him. They froze him, shattered him, and then got hot again, and he came back together.
T-1000 style and everything.
So that may or may not be the end of Vadic. It probably is for this season.
Well, it's the only season, but
there's other Trek, especially if we get a Titan series or something.
Right? Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You can always come back and haunt us again.
Yeah, we'll see. I really hope that's the end of her because I'm done with that character. I feel like we got everything out of that character we're gonna get.
The satisfying death and everything.
Yeah, I just enough. But anyway, so yeah, that was pretty damn cool.
Did we miss about Raffi kicking ass?
Oh no, yeah. Well, that was kind of going on simultaneously.
I thought that was funny when Riker came in. He's like, "You're scary."
Yeah,
or whatever he said to her. Yeah, like, you're terrifying.
He said he's like, you're terrifying. Yeah, because she
kicked everybody's ass.
And thank goodness for that scene too, because I loved getting to see Raffi just let loose. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of from the Odyssey. It reminds me of when Odysseus finally lets his son loose because his son's just.
He's like, wait.
Because Odysseus is kind of like Worf, and Raffi's sort of like his son and everything, and it's just like, now's not the time. It's not a good, you got to be zen, you got to blah, blah, blah. And then finally, it gets to the point where it's like, now's the time to let...
hello, boys.
Now's the time to let out your anger, and she just slaughters those changeling guards, man.
And then Worf at the end, he's like, your shoulder's stiff. He's like,
it was fine. You keep throwing the elbow, and she's like, bullshit, I did, and...
I love them. I want more.
Yeah, it was great. And then just, again, then the doors open up and Seven's just like, sir, here's your bridge back, which is just like, okay, just.
But then he immediately turns it back over to her.
Yeah, and then he's like, yeah.
Like, God damn it. Shaw.
Yeah, he's like, he immediately turns it back over and is just like,
all yours. Go for it.
What do you want to do? And she's like, blow up the Shrike. And they immediately start firing on the Shrike.
She's like, give it all. They give it everything we have. She's like, fire.
And they awesome. Blow the shit out of the Shrike.
Yeah, Raffi must have disengaged their shields or something when she was over there.
Oh, probably. But does that also mean, because they didn't indicate, does that mean they also blew up Picard's body?
Probably.
Interesting. Or did they bring it with them? We
really don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't.
They didn't show them coming back.
No, they
because she was trying to figure out why they wanted that. They had to be in their system somewhere. She was in the middle of doing that. So did she get it and she brought it back? We find that out next episode.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
So now we're getting to the ending, right? And we get what everybody's been waiting years and years for, which is
20 years to be exact.
Yeah. The TNG crew are together. And it's a really cool scene. Deanna gets to see Data for the first time. Data is interacting with all of them as this new form of this more human type of Data. He's older.
Yeah, I like how they confronted the whole Data thing, and Picard was like, did we,
yes,
you want to experience death, did we, dishonor you by doing this? And he's like, that's that Data, he's resting in peace, this is the new Data.
Yeah, I thought
I'm a different form of Data, I have all these other pieces of me.
Yeah, I thought that was really smart, that the way they did that.
He's like, I can't be happier than to be right here. So.
Right.
With this new Data.
Yeah.
I thought that was nice.
Yeah, that was really cool. Data's little talk he had walking in when he was talking with Geordi and expressing his love for
gratitude.
Gratitude for their friendship and all that. All like super cool, very satisfying to us longtime TNG fans that are like, we need closure on things. We need to see things wrapped up. So that was all pretty cool. Deanna, like I said, meets for the first time. It's also the first time Deanna is getting to see Beverly and Geordi and everybody. She hasn't seen them in a while. And they're all kind of talking about stuff, sitting at the table talking, getting ready to have their little meeting, their little powwow. And Beverly makes a point of saying that, even with all my stuff going on, I didn't talk to you guys forever. I just want you to know that I was always thinking of you. And so I got
Deanna sitting directly across.
Deanna's sitting directly across. And here's the thing. This might mean nothing. It might mean nothing. And knowing my luck with as much as I've been theorizing about this.
You're going to get WandaVisioned.
I'm going to get WandaVisioned. I'm going to have all these theories, and then it's going to get to the end and be like, nope, it's none of that. Okay, fine. If that's what happens, fine. But as it stands right now, I'm still very suspect. And I wasn't. Like, going throughout this episode, especially when it got to this scene and I see that Deanna is there with them and that she's acting all normal, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I was wrong. But what?
It just reminded me when they first came on the ship, Deanna like collapsed. And Riker grabbed her and he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? She's like, there's something evil and dark on this ship.
There's a darkness on this ship, and it is not Jack. It's not Jack. He is not the darkness.
Yeah. So we'll get to that. So go ahead with
your... exactly. So anyway, I thought, maybe I was wrong. Maybe that's not it. It's, and everything. But then we get a scene where Beverly's sitting across from Troi, and Troi starts saying, over the years, like, I've thought about you a lot. I've talked to you.
Yeah, my bad times and my good times.
My bad times and my bad times and my good times. And it's like, turns out you gave a lot of good advice after all and everything. And Beverly's just kind of like, oh, that's nice kind of thing. And Troi reaches out and grabs her hand and holds her hand for a moment and everything. And the camera, the camera very pointedly goes from Deanna's face to showing the holding of hands, pans down, and then goes up to Beverly. And that
means something. It's got to mean something. It's not just a throwaway.
Exactly. It's either intended to mislead people like me who they've been possibly giving a red herring to with this Beverly thing, or it is a definite hint. Because here was another thing I thought about. When Troi says, I've talked to you like over the years and blah, 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 she's making it sound like she was doing sort of a whatever, like how you do in your head when you think about old, say like your old grandma that passed away and you're like still talk to them, like what would you do? How would you handle this kind of thing? They tried to put it across that way. But here's what I'm wondering. Is there a chance that Troi actually talked to her over the years?
I don't know.
It's possible. Because everybody else is the ones that have said, oh, we haven't talked to her in years. But Troi never said that. Troi never came out and said, oh, I haven't talked to Beverly in 23 years or whatever. Never said that. So,
or is it maybe it was just in her head and applied and she needed that touch that we talked about? It's the physical touch that she needs to determine something.
Right. Well, I definitely think there's something there to the touch. I think she touched her on purpose. Yeah. But what I'm saying is I'm wondering if it's going to turn out that she's like, why is Beverly sitting here saying that she hasn't talked to any of us when I've actually contacted her in the past 20 years? Because we wouldn't necessarily, there's nothing that says, you couldn't sit there and be like, you mean Troi wouldn't tell anybody? No, Troi wouldn't tell anybody. Why would she? Especially if it was in confidentiality. She is a counselor. And if Beverly had talked to her over the years and was like, do not tell anybody. Don't let Jean-Luc or anybody know that I'm in contact. And it was just between them girls. You know what I mean? So I as soon as that whole scene happened, I was like, I'm back in business, baby. I'm telling you, there's something up with Beverly. She ain't right. I don't know if she's not actually her or she's been taken over.
She's definitely holding back something.
Or she's possessed in some way or some kind of thing like that. There's something else going on with Beverly. So anyway, so we got that and I just felt very, placated.
Yeah. And then Data starts talking. He's like, okay, you guys are all talking about these facts and everything, but what about the feeling?
Yeah.
And that's when Troi was like, yeah, there's something very wrong on the ship. And it's with Jack. And it's not in him. It's around him.
Right.
There's a darkness. And it goes back over to Beverly. She's like, yeah, something's going on with him.
Right.
I don't know.
And I thought that the way that was filmed, the way Deanna is saying it, the way Beverly's reacting to it, I'm like,
Yeah, because I kind of showed her and she's like,
yeah.
Shit.
Well, I think they were trying to make it seem like Beverly is all like, oh no, like she's worried for her son. I'm not buying it.
No, I think she's worried of something else. Yeah.
That they're going to find out what's really going on with him. Yep.
So then Troy's like, I think it's time I meet your son.
Right. And Beverly's just nodding like, yes, I guess so. Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
I'm going to go along with this
now.
and pretend like, yeah, exactly. So, Deanna ends up going and sitting down with Jack, who's extremely apprehensive about it. You could tell he's like super nervous and he's scared of what she's going to find out, And he says like, I'm somebody who's not used to, I've always been running and I've always been shut off and I don't open up, so the idea of letting somebody into my head is like pretty freaky. But Troy's Troy. She's very, she's very soothing and it's like, no, it's okay. Just, and I'll be there with you and, and everything. And so they end up going into his head and she's there with him and she sees the red door and the vines and all that stuff. And
What'd she say about the vines? Like or was that in the next?
No, that's
okay,
we'll get
that's
to that.
the trailer for next week. Sorry.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
So, right. Yeah. Don't get ahead of yourself yet. But Jack is admitting to her as he's standing there, he's like, I don't want to open the door. And she's like, why? And he's like, because I'm terrified of what's behind it. And then she's telling him like, look, I think it's time that you need to open that door and everything.
And I'll go with you. I'm here with you every step of the way.
Right. She tells him, I'm here with you the whole way. Yeah, exactly. And so the last scene we get is a hand going onto this doorknob, and we're hearing the voices. We're hearing, Jack, it's time. Come back to us.
Come to me. We'll be together soon.
We'll be together soon. All this stuff and everything. Boom. That's the end. I know. Well,
just show me behind the door.
Yeah. Well, a little epilogue is since the episode came out, and right before we went live with this, we saw the
new trailer
teaser for episode 9, and it's picking up from pretty much right there, where she's like you were starting to say about the vines.
Yeah, she's like the vines and everything. She's like that. It's a connection to something. You want to be connected. He's like, yes, that's what it is. Exactly. I'm like, oh, Borg. Interesting. Borg. Where all the connections. It's all fucking Borgs.
And all that stuff. Yeah, so, I'll bet you it's Borg. I'll bet you that's what it's going to be. But
and they do like this slow motion of Deanna walking down that tiny high hallway.
Right. And Deanna offers to him, says, do you want me to open the door? Like, I'll do the door opening for you. And he allows her to do it. So she goes and opens the door and sees inside, and then the next thing is like they both she jumps out of it, and he's just kind of looking at her like, what? And she's like,
what'd you see? Yeah,
and she gets up, she's like, I'm sorry, you have to excuse me. I got she's totally
freaked out
and literally runs out of the room, and he's like, oh, what the fuck? So yeah, that's where it's at. I mean, there's not much more to say about it other than, obviously, I think we're both in the same mindset of it's probably some sort of Borg or ancient Borg related thing.
Yeah, because Deanna says something about it's ancient and it's weak.
Right.
But the Borg shouldn't be weak because they just got a brand new queen. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
But that's a different Borg, though.
This is true.
That's a different kind of Borg. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This could be some old form of Borg collective that's going back, you know what I mean? Like many centuries. Who knows, So, and I feel like you're finally getting on board the Beverly's fucked up wagon with me, huh?
I'm getting there, yeah.
We only got 2 more episodes.
Well, from my research, apparently we get all of our answers next week.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. You said from somebody that
has seen all 10 episodes.
Seen all the episodes.
They said all the answers come next week, finally.
Okay.
And then the last one's like the wrapping it up and everything. It's like, okay, we got all the answers. Now what do we got to do to fix this? We'll see.
Every time waiting till the very, very,
The last
very
minute,
end.
yeah. And I guess apparently from the same person that there's been big hints in episodes 4 and 5. Certain lines in there are a dead giveaway about what's happening. But he would not say because he didn't want to give away too much. So I want to go back and watch 4 and 5.
I might do that.
And see what I can take away from that.
Yeah.
And that may even been when we started talking about Borg. And you were like, I'm so sick of the Borg. I don't want any more Borg.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We shall see. But he was also saying, it's like, once we get the door open, he said, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be like, oh, okay. Or like, that's it? Really? Which is surprising to me after watching that teaser. I was like, it seems like it'd be pretty fucked up, whatever it is.
Well, I got the impression from what you were telling me when he said that is that it's because there have been all these grand theories out there about it's Gul Dukat and it's, this race and it's this enemy from, DS9 or from the original series and it's all these like more.
And it's not going to be any of that.
I don't think it's going to be any of that. I think we're going to find out that it's something more typical, like, oh, it's Borg again.
Yeah.
Like something like, oh, gee, we only have had Borg in every single season so far. This fucking
and
show.
he kept saying, like, that on the bridge was 7. He's like, that's a good giveaway. I was like, I wonder.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah. So it's fucking Borg.
Okay.
He wouldn't say it out loud, like, for sure, Borg. He's like, but
I didn't
hello?
know that. I didn't know he made the comment about 7. Like,
yeah.
Oh, well,
it's Borg.
That's it then. Yeah. Okay.
That's all there is to it.
Cool. All right. Well, I won't judge until I see it. I'd been complaining a few episodes back. If you didn't see and hear us talk about it, then I was complaining about how everything just has to constantly be about the Borg, and I'm like, there's so much more to Next Gen, to Star Trek, to Picard as a character. There's so much more to him than just that he was Locutus of Borg. Like, can't we, if we're going to go into old storyline things, other stuff, can't we do something else? Like, was there nothing else to this man other than, well, he was once a Borg, it's like, that's his only claim to fame. That's his only thing that matters. It's the only thing that's just going to keep coming back to him. It's like he was involved in hundreds of different situations. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things they could do. Why does it constantly have to be Borg, man? They've just, and especially after what we got in
Last season,
2.
yeah. It was all Borg.
Where it was all Borg, and then the way they ended it with, again, spoilers if you haven't seen season 2, with Jurati becoming the new Borg queen and starting a whole new era of Borg, and it feeling like, okay, well, this is a new beginning and it's a change, because it's the first time in history where the Borg actually teamed up in a sense with Starfleet and everything, and they weren't like a threat anymore like that. Like, it felt like, okay, just like they did with Q, at the end of season 2, of like, okay, we've tied that all up now. We can move on. So you're telling me we're going back to Borg again? Like, come on.
We'll have to see how they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we still don't know who this big baddie is. We got rid of Vadic now. Who's this left hand or hers or right hand, whatever it was?
The Emperor, Emperor Crapatine.
Yeah, so we got to see who who the real baddie is here. So
yeah, exactly.
So I'm excited for next week.
I am.
I enjoyed the hell out of this episode.
I'm excited for next week, except I'm not going to be here.
Yeah,
you're on your own.
He's leaving me.
I'm going to be in California for the
NAMM
I'm
trying to get Vito or Matt to come and join me.
Or Mike.
Or our friend Mike, that's huge.
Mike's a bigger Trek fan than all of us put together. Like, he knows everything. And I've wanted to get him on here for a while now, but he's just a really busy guy. But Mike might be on here. We may or may not be live next week. It's going to depend on what happens with my fill-in co-host, possibly. Maybe something where the episode doesn't come out till like Friday or Saturday. Yep. But it'll be out soon. Sometime at the end of next week. Yeah. It'll be out before the final episode does. And then we'll have to figure out what we want to do about the final episode after season 10. Maybe we'll do some something special. I don't know. Maybe we'll get more people involved and everything.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know. But definitely going to be a lot. That's going to be a big one and a lot to talk about because it'll be the end of season 3. It's the end of Picard. You know, this has been such a big part of our show for
past 3 years.
3 years now,
plus.
At least. Yeah, over 3 years. Like it's been such a big. We even went out and met members. We went to 1 year. We went to a panel and we heard them talk and everything. We got to see the Borg Queen before she sadly passed away and everything, and we got to see Michelle Hurd and she was great, and we got to meet Evan Evagoria and Issa Barones. We got pictures with them and stuff, and maybe we'll bring all that back. We'll talk about that and we'll feature it all when we do our Picard show wrap up thing in 2 weeks. But until then, we encourage you as always, please subscribe. Please, we really want you to subscribe. It means a lot to us. We don't make any money off of this or anything. We're just doing this because we want to share with other geeks, you know, and we love the interaction. So even if you don't subscribe, at least leave us comments. Let us know your theories. If you think I'm completely batshit crazy like Vadic about all my theories about Beverly and stuff, tell me below in the comments, or go to Facebook and go on the Geeking Squad. It's a group on Facebook that's open for anybody to join as long as you're not a jerk. We would love to have you there. We only talk about geeky stuff. No politics, no religion, none of that baloney that you get all over the internet and social media. It's all just Star Trek and Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Terminator and horror movies and comedies and toys. A lot of toys. I'm always talking about toys and comics and cartoons, all that stuff. So we encourage you to join us there. And until then, we'll see you next week. Maybe I'll try to phone in or something and so I can get my thoughts in on episode 9. I'm getting them in.
Join us in the chat here.
One way or another. I'll be in California at the NAMM convention. So if any of you go to the NAMM convention in Anaheim, that's where I'll be, especially if you want to talk about Star Trek and stuff like that. I'm all ears. Plus, I'm going to try to get over to Disney to see if they've got any cool new Star Wars or Tron toys because I really want them. But anyway, all right, everybody. That's it for us. We got to do it. We only got a couple more to do this.
I did it. I'm getting good at this.
You are. You're
8 episodes in.
You're getting much better. I remember when you were first trying to give the Vulcan salute. You couldn't do it at all.
My fingers don't work this way.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye. Everybody.